Hi y'all, I'm Hannah.
Hi, I'm Holly.
Hi, I'm Marie.
I'm Ann.
Hi, I'm Kayla.
We are coming to you live from Living Felt because it's
Happy Woolly Wednesday!
Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. We are so glad you're here. You know why? We just got out of a really important meeting with the Wool Health Organization. And they are advising everyone to stay in, binge on Woolly Wednesday, and felt. So that's what we're going to do today, right?
Yes.
Sounds like a plan.
Hey y'all, we have a great show for you today. We are introducing a brand new skin tone in our MC1 line. We're going to look at some dolls. We are going to look at a few different things, and yeah, we're each even going to pick out a skin tone, aren't we? Cool. So thank y'all for being here. We're going to just say hi to a few of you and welcome you to the show, and then we're going to jump right into it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for being here, everybody. So I am Marie. We are Living Felt. If this is your first Woolly Wednesday, hey, on the live group, we've got a chat going over there somewhere, I think it is. Say hi and where you're from. You'll see that all of our veterans are doing the same. If you're watching the playback, by all means, please say hi and where you're from. Give us a thumbs up if you're excited for today's video, and we are, because we have wanted to make this skin tone for a long, long time. We're going to be sharing it with you along with some really cute Waldorf story puppets that I had a chance to make for our local Waldorf school just a few years back. So really fun. For those of you who don't know us, we are Living Felt based right here in Central Texas in the USA. We ship all over the world. That's why you see so many friends with us all over the world, and we're glad you're here too. So today we are needle felting, which is just a great fun thing to do. And as I mentioned, we're introducing a brand new skin tone, and all the fairies have decided to show you if they were making a doll of themselves, what skin tone would they choose? So come on in, y'all. Yay, fairies!
I think I'm next to you.
So we wanted to share, if we were going to be making a doll, we wanted to share the colors that we would pick. And I would go with linen. I'm quite pale. I'm linen with a little bit of pale peach in the cheeks, and just if I was out in the sun for more than 10 minutes.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm sort of torn between if I would be all over peachy or all over pale peach, but some kind of combination of those two. Some highlights or some contouring, I'm not sure yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah, and I've got pale peach as well. I didn't see a lot of sun this winter, so I'm hoping I would upgrade to sand once I get a little bit more sun on my skin. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going for.
And I've got a little combo. Surprise, surprise. I've got our new skin tone here. That's going to be the sun tanned. It's a great kind of medium tone. I think it's pretty close to me. And then I need to get a little darker, so I've got the clay as well. So suntan and clay for Hannah.
Very nice.
Awesome.
y'all.
And before we go, I had a question for you guys. What do you call a sheep covered in chocolate?
Oh. I don't know. What do you call it?
A chocolate bar. So bad. Yeah.
Kayla's always good for a laugh.
Thank y'all
Good
so
deal.
much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, and thanks for the joke, Kayla. Those are the Living Felt fairies. For those of you who don't know, they are some of the fairies, not everyone. When you call our shop, when you get an order, they are the ones who have graced your woolly packages, and they'll be glad to answer your questions, any woolly questions you have if you give us a call, and they're also the ones who write those beautiful little love notes in your orders. And man, we're just so happy you all are here. Let me say hi to a few folks. I've seen a lot of friends joining us. There's Devin McCarroll. She says, love the new color. That would work for some animal fur too. You bet. Claire Long. Hi, Claire. Says, definitely the suntan. Great color. Lori McCombie, hi in Florida. Hi, Lois is just laughing. And Linda Fellman says she likes the skin colors. We have quite a range of skin colors, and for those of you who don't know, MC1 is our signature batting. It is a domestic fiber, meaning right here from U.S. farms. It's dyed here and milled here in the USA, and we have like 90 plus colors. So you'll see that in a lot of our tutorials, we show different ways you can use MC1, and really you can use it for needle felting 2D, needle felting 3D, wet felting 2D, or wet felting 3D. There are so many applications for it, and all kinds of things combined. So for today, we're looking at what we call the skin tones, and so happy to have added this new one. Let me just show it to you here for a second, and we're going to turn down as well. This is the range of skin tones going from very light to very dark, and I've made dolls in many of these colors. We're going to look at them intimately here in just a second, but just to give you an example, this is my doll Jax, and he's way far back here, but he is made with espresso, so he's very dark. And yeah, and then you can use dark chocolate in his skin tone, as well as he has actually caramel for the lighter highlights in his face. And I can pull him off his swing if you want. These two folks are both made with our sand, which is just a real medium, and then you add different colors to it as well. So we're going to look at these little story puppets, but why don't I turn down so that we can look at these range of skin tones together, and then we can answer if y'all have any questions. Okay, so here we go. This is a look at our range of skin tones that we have right now, and I'm going to run through these colors so you can see what they all are. And I know what we understand is it can be very challenging to buy colors online. Sometimes when you're looking at colors, you just see this flat block and it's difficult to see. So one of the things we like to do in the show is take a minute and show you some of the things sort of live-ish on video so you can check them out. So here we go. This is linen. This is sand. This is pale peach. This is peachy. Jump back up here. This is the new suntan, latte, caramel, clay, espresso bean, and dark chocolate. So those are the range of colors that we call skin tones, and we sell, this is part of our MC1 line, but we do have, if you click on the MC1 section of our website, you can see all of these colors together. So it's like a little subset of the MC1 line, and I think Anne's going to share a link to that in the chat box. So even if you're watching the replay, look over in the chat box, and then we'll include all of the links for today's show down in the description. So if you're excited about today's show, or whether you're watching the live or the replay, let us know what skin tones maybe you're drawn to. And usually you would use 1 or 2 or 3, and sometimes I add tulip or rose petal or different colors like that to add color and things like that in the cheeks. So let me see what some of y'all are saying. I'm like, glasses on, glasses off, trying to see. Shell says she'd like to know what the MC wool is made from. Shell, sheep. So it's like it's our proprietary fiber, so we don't really know the breed or the exact makings of MC1 because it's so special and exclusive to us, but I'll tell you that it is a 25 micron fiber. It's short staple length, and it's nice and crimpy, and it's a little bit lofty as well. So if you've never worked with it, you might like to just give it a try. And I know that you are across the pond and that can be kind of expensive for you, but it's still fun sometimes just to sample fibers from another land and give them a go. Lori asked the question that I predicted would be asked, and that is, do we have the skin tones in a package? And the answer to that is no, we do not have them in their own package. So you would need to buy them individually, and mostly it's because most of our packs are 2 colors per pack. I'm sorry, 6 colors per pack. And so it would be difficult for us to choose which are the best 6 for skin tones. And then if we did all the colors, our concern is what happens if we run out of one of those, then we can't sell the pack to anybody. So it is kind of the limiting factor, just in cases we can't stay in stock on that one color. Because there is quite a long time in between production runs. We do huge amounts of wool at a time, and there's a big length of time. It takes a lot of time to do a single production run. Okay, so I'm going to sit down here with my little dollies, and I'll tell you a little bit about them. Okay, so here we go. All right, now these are my Waldorf story puppets, and I did not know what a Waldorf story puppet was. I knew about Waldorf dolls, and generally, for those who don't know, and I'm not a Waldorf teacher or a Waldorf parent, so I know that there are lots of things that could be said about Waldorf that I won't get right. But I will say that it is a particular form of education, and Waldorf is taught in private schools. And one of the things you notice about when they have dolls is they leave them faceless, and that gives the children a lot of room for imagination so that they can put their own personalities and their own expressions to the dolls. And I just think that that's super, super sweet. I was asked to teach, I think there were mothers who wanted to educate their children at home, or did like a daycare that was Waldorf based, and so my job was to teach them how to make Waldorf story puppets. Now if you do Waldorf, these might look a little different than your normal dolls, and the reason is I made them not fluffy and loose with fiber, because Waldorf dolls often use like a New Zealand Corriedale, and the clothing is very drapey and loose, but I wanted them to be able to hold up. All of the dolls you see have been in and out of boxes, bins, and bags since, I want to say I did this in 2014. So I think these dolls are going on 5 or 6 years old, and they're not roughed up at all. They are softer than my normal dolls. They're a little squishy, but that's because, you know, it's such a tactile experience. The Waldorf, the kids playing, maybe the teacher doing a story time, and they wanted to be able to move the arms to give them some expression. So these dolls have been on our website for quite a while, and the skin tones are very much like I shared with you. So this is linen, this is sand. He is caramel, which I think is fun. It looks like it's a little unexpected once you see it on the face compared to we use caramel in animals all the time. She is pale peach, peachy. Oh, do I have that right? Yeah, pale peach, peachy. I'm looking at the back of their heads. Latte, clay, espresso bean, and dark chocolate. And that's how these little guys came out. So they're really fun to make, and I thought we would make one today and bring our new skin tone into this family. And just for fun, I'll show you the back so you can see their hair. And then I'll pause here and see what questions you all have. Catch up a little bit. So Stephanie says, if you use darker skin tones, should you use a darker core? And that's a great question, and I'll address that depending on the part of the body. What does it mean when you say micron? Oh, that one. And do they have armature? Okay, so let me try and answer these questions in a meaningful way that is helpful. Micron is the diameter of the fiber. So think of like a little, the difference between like a piece of thread versus a piece of twine. A piece of twine would have a higher micron because the fiber shaft is bigger and it's more coarse, whereas a yarn, regular yarn, or a piece of thread might be more fine, a lower number. So think of micron as a measurement of the diameter of the fiber and the fineness of the fiber. Generally speaking, that's how you can think about it. So the lower the micron, the finer the fiber, and our MC1 being a 25 is like a medium fineness, whereas we might do a garment with a 16, 18, 19 micron fiber, something really soft for next to the skin. Okay, someone asked about the face on the shelf. Good find, way up there on the shelf. This guy is made with latte. And I've done a lot of my dolls with latte. He doesn't really have any skin accents, no blushing, no real accent colors except for maybe right here in his eye crease. So I would put a darker color in the eye crease, and I would blend a color into the cheeks and lips. And if you want to see more about that, we have an entire series on needle felting a doll. We played with a few faces, and I'll show those to you also. And we taught how to needle felt clothes, how to wet felt clothes, how to needle felt a body with an armature, how to attach those, how to make strong fingers. So lately, if you've seen lots of dolls that have really strong hands, even if they're very small, we taught how to make a doll with a very strong hand that can hold on to stuff so you can give it props. And that was really, really fun. So I'm going to turn this down real quick, and you can see these two little faces. And let me just zoom in so you can see the color a little better. they're obviously faces in the works, and they were shared in part of the doll tutorial. And these are pale peach. So just a very gentle skin tone for a Caucasian, and could be used to add accents to any other face. And this little girl, she's still not gotten her body put on, is linen. So lots of fun to have with dolls, and we just wanted to introduce this new skin tone, which is suntan. We're very excited about it, and so today we're going to make this little Waldorf story puppet. So if you're ready, give us a thumbs up, a hi-ho, yay, and I'll show you how easy it is to make this little doll. I will watch for your questions. Anne's going to kind of feed those to me, and let's turn down and look at what we're going to do. Okay guys, so here we are. We're going to start and make little bodies out of chenille stems for our armature. This is our, let's see if I park our suntan there for a second so you can just kind of see what it looks like. And let's see. Okay, so I answered that. Do these dolls have armature? So here's your answer. So these dolls we're going to make with these little chenille stems, and here's sort of the progress, if you will. I make just a little, almost like a popsicle stick doll. I'm going to cover the head in core wool. I'm going to cover the body in core wool and build up a shape. And then someone asked, if the skin tone is darker, do you use a darker core wool? We use the same core wool because the core wool is designed to be covered. If you get your needle felting skills down, then you won't be poking all the way through to the other side. Or if you do, then what you can do is on real skinny areas like fingers, small appendages, small parts of the doll, cover it in the skin tone that you will be using. So this hand is just skin tone all the way up to here. So real quick, I'm going to jump through getting to this part so that we can make our little story puppet. Story puppet. I think that's what I said. They're called story puppet. It's like teachers can tell the story. Now, the reason I use two different colors on these is so that you can see what's happening. It just kind of gives you a clue of where the wires are going. So the doll tutorial is very detailed. We did it live across several sessions, and a couple were recorded. And one of the things we encourage you to do is work out your shapes in little models. So take a chenille stem, fold it in half, and just give it a couple of twists for the neck. Then I'm going to take the body piece, fold it in half, and give it a nice strong point. And then I'm going to put it on this neck. Just like that. So one is holding the other. Then we'll just spread them out and twist these together, just 2 or 3 times. We don't have to make it all that much, and just keep it nice and tight like that. Twist this together 2 or 3 times. These would be great, like if you wanted to give children something to play with. They really would be so fun. And then I'm just going to close this off here. I use the chenille stem because it gives me a center core to needle felt towards. If you want to make your doll even more posable or more weighty, you could use the green armature, like the cloth covered armature that we sell, or other thicker wire, but this is just to give you something to hold on to while you work on your doll. Then I like to find the approximate length of the arm. Oh, I don't know. My arms are always like long or short. So once I find one that I like, then I kind of copy it. And this one is about, like 3 fingers long. So I'll move this up, just fold it in half and give it a twist. And you could just leave this a little bit open, just like that, just a peek open. And then I'll bring this one forward to match and fold it back too. This might be a fun way too, just to stage or play with your skin tones and see what you like. Maybe if you do commissions, you could have your little doll so people could pick a skin tone for their doll, and you'd give them a little reference to look at. Let's get my core wool. And Anne, would you feed me any questions we have, because I'm having a difficult time looking at you all.
How tall
Oh, that's a good question. Marie has to learn to bring her ruler, I think. I'll pull out a little bit more of my core wool. I have a ruler here, though. Let me get that for you.
And how firm should the core wool be?
So how firm, really? I don't find a ruler, Anne. I'm going to have to lean on you a little bit. So how firm should the core wool be? I will tell you that normally, nowadays, I like to needle felt something very firm. In this case, especially if it's going to be a children's play toy, just needle felt it firm enough that you can get a nice smooth surface, because the smoother the surface is, the more it can be handled and can handle scuffs and drops and bumps and just getting gripped without lumping up, tearing off, or pilling. So just make it, if we do our firmness test, which is rare, medium, well done, very well done, you'd be pretty safe with medium here. And if you see here, like as I push on this doll, it doesn't really go anywhere. So it's this part of your hand that you're feeling as you touch these fingers together. My husband taught this to me many years ago. So I would say at least medium to well done. They don't need to be rock hard. Okay, so let's get this dolly started. All right, and this is my core wool. I've chosen our core wool roving for this exercise, and I'm just going to split the length so that I get a nice thin piece, and you don't need very much. We're just going to make the head. So you can make it nice and thin, strip it down. I love working in these long lengths. And the reason I like to leave a hole in there is so I can just loop this through. All right, Anne's brought us a ruler. This little dolly, as an example, she's just under 6 inches tall, and this little thing is, I folded it up to 4.5 from neck to the bottom, and with the head, it's 5.5. So, find what size you like. Cool. Okay, now, and they can be any height that you want. Okay, so here we go. I just run it through the loop like this, and now I'm going to start just by wrapping it around. So the loop just helps grab onto the wool initially, and I'm going to wrap very tightly. If you wrap tight, that's less you have to poke to get a nice dense surface. Build up a little bulk like this, and then notice I'm just feeding it around. I'm not letting it twist. So there's no twisting, there's no air in there. And then after a time, you can just kind of come up and over a few times. Just kind of work your way around it as if you're winding up a ball of yarn, and build up a little more bulk. So build up your bulk, go around, and then when you're ready, go up up this way and then down the other side. And if you're having difficult time getting it to stay, as I am swinging it all around, then pause and needle felt it into place. I'm using our pink 36 triangle to anchor that down because I want it to be nice and firm. We don't care about it looking smooth at this point or having holes. We just want it to grip on there. So try not to make the head too big on the first one. I've done that on a couple and then not been very happy. So you might start with a little small doll, and this is the size of like a large grape. I would say maybe a pretty large grape. Those jumbo black grapes that you can only get sometimes. You know the ones. The skin's all dry and bitter, but the grapes are not too sweet. And notice that I'm needle felting all around. I'm needle felting in these little loose bits, and if y'all need us to scooch in, we can do that too. I don't mean to be so far away. We're going to needle felt in all these loose bits, and you just want to get it nice and firm. So spend a little time sculpting this until you get this nice little oval shape on your head. Tack it all down with the 36, and if you have to, go to like a 38 star or a 38 spiral if it just gets too hard to go into. So keep needle felting it until you get it to look about like this. Now notice that mine is not rock hard, but it's fairly firm. And like I said, I just want it to be able to be touched and pawed and played with by the kids without getting messed up. So then I want to wrap the hands, which I don't give these little tiny dolls fingers. We're going to wrap them with our skin tone.
Angie asks, when I start to wrap, I pull the wool to make it straight. It usually breaks off.
Okay.
Suggestions as to what I'm doing?
Yes, so Angie says when she goes to pull it tight, it usually breaks off, and that's because you're working with a short fiber, so you're just going to have to find the balance of that tension. And let me show it to you on this little doll. And we'll wrap one of these arms, and then I'll show you how we wrap the body. Now the key to getting this nice and smooth, see how smooth that is and like even, and it's not lumpy and weird or loose, is working with this and little tiny thin layers, meaning strips, narrow strips. So you want it thin enough that you can control this. And if you are, if you really like detail and you don't mind practice, well then check out our finger tutorial in the doll section because you make a whole bunch of little skinny things for fingers. Now, you can open this up or you can squish it through the loop, but this is why I like to make the loop, and I'll show you right here, is I want to put the wool right in there to help grab onto the wool. So I'll put it in the wire, and now I like to twist the thing with my right hand and hold tension and the straightness with my left hand. So here's what I do. Pull it down and fold it over. You can pinch this closed now, that's fine. And then notice how close, Angie, I'm holding to the staple length. So my hand's not back here, my hand is way up here because the staple length is short. So the shorter it is, the closer in you'll need to be. And now I twist the thing. I twist the thing, meaning in this case my doll, it could be anything, right? I could be making a carrot. Notice that I have a little of this wool sticking off, like a little cotton ball tip. You're going to fold it back over and then go over it. So you want the wire folded over because any bare wire is going to poke itself out. And the same as if you leave that wire exposed, it's easier to fold some wool back over it. And now I'm going to just try and control this and make it even thickness up as far as I need to go. You don't need to go too far. The reason we use core wool underneath stuff is because it's a little less expensive. It doesn't cost so much to not dye it. But that's why you only want your skin tones to be where you need them to be. So if the rest of this doll is going to have sleeves, we can put core wool here or the sleeve color, because when you poke on something so tiny, there is a tendency to poke all the way through, and if you had core wool under here and you poked all the way through, then the white bits come out, and that's just frustrating. Okay, so what I'm going to do is tear this off so I have a loose little bit, and then I'm just going to trail it off up the piece. Now the chenille stem has some grippy, and so that helps. But if you've worked with this fiber, some of you know, and y'all can chime in, my MC1 peeps out there, that this stuff just kind of grips onto itself. We still want to needle felt it, and because it's so tiny, I'm going to use my 42 triangle, which is nice and fine. But there's very little air in here, and there's not a lot that needs to be tacked down. And what you're going to do is just go up and down the length of your piece. Notice the angle is very shallow because you don't want to poke through to the other side. You don't want to poke through to the foam. And that is going to make your piece look more smooth just because you didn't go like this. Instead, you go like this. Okay, so I'm going to breathe. For those of you who don't know me, see I can just talk for way too long. I'll look for some of your questions. Someone asked, Katie says, is the core wool the same micron as the MC1? Very close, Katie. It's more like a 26. It's it can vary, of course. Y'all got to know that, every harvest is going to vary slightly. Sometimes our MC1 is even finer, and you get it. You just go, oh, this is like too. You could feel, can't you? You could just feel when it's finer. And so sometimes the core wool is a little more fine, a little more coarse, but you're going to think it feels very, very similar. So to make these little dolls, you're going to do the head like this, and then both arms like this, and then let's build up I'm just going to show you how we build up the body really quick, and then we're going to have to jump ahead so we can get some clothes on this gal. I've decided it's a gal. I like to make girl dolls and boy dolls. Girls and boy dolls. So again, I'm going to go with another long strip. Here it is, but I'm going to split the thickness again, and let's start at the neck. I actually want to go a little narrow because at the neck I don't want it overly thick. And you can start right here, maybe at the body, underneath the arms. Give it a couple of wraps. Again, I'm twisting the thing, and I'm going to go, this is kind of funny to find your way, but so from the core of the body, we'll go up over one of the arms and back under the armpit. And then to go to the other side, you have to go to the back side. So if you started on the front, now to go over the other arm, you have to do that from the back. So see, we went from the back over, give it a twist, and then we can go back over that shoulder. So now we have a little bit of our body building up. And to build up down here, I'm going to twist the whole length of this, what I have. Notice that I just hold on to it very tightly, and I kind of dry felt it with my hands a little bit. Now, if you don't have MC1 batting, if you don't have our core wool CW1 or our MC1 batting, your fibers might be a little different to work with. It's okay, just pause and needle felt it as you need to if it starts to come undone. So if like right now it's coming undone, well then just pause and tack it into place. But if it's hanging on and you can keep the air out of it, then just keep wrapping. And I'm gonna wrap. Don't worry about this, let that just be. We're gonna cover it up enough and then just work your whole length. There's no reason to tear that layer off. You can go right back, at least with this fiber, right back on top of itself and keep on wrapping. And when you get, so I'm going to build this torso up, but before it gets too big, and I'll just talk you through it, before it gets too big, then I'm going to put core wool on the arms also. And whenever you get to the end of a length, needle felt it in place. And take a moment to needle felt this down and get all of the air out. So use whatever needle you like. Use a 30, I'm going to use a 36, a 36, a 32. If you don't have those, use your most aggressive 38, like a star or a spiral, and just tack it down so all of the air gets out. So I'm going to look for a few questions here. See what y'all have. So someone says, have you had the wire break from twisting and bending and working it too much? I have not had that happen, but I would say, you know, keep in mind that this is going to be more flexible than the more rigid wires. If an aluminum wire, if you overpose it, even a stainless steel wire, if you overpose it, legs up, down, up, down, up, down, there is a chance of it breaking. So these wires can take a lot of bending. Someone asked, if you dull the needle by poking into the wire, avoid poking into the wire. You just want to avoid it. My needles don't get dull from needle felting like this, but if you hit your wire too much, you're going to bend your needle. It will bow. It'll get like a bend in it, which we call bow. We say bow, bend, break. And so you want to avoid hitting the wire as much as you can. Something like this is a little more forgiving. Okay, so once all your wool's tacked down, the way I get from here to here is just to keep building up in the same fashion, but I will go over this part multiple times. So I like to work in nice thin layers, and just know that when you start a new layer, you're going to want to needle felt it down first. So anchor it to that wool so that it doesn't come off as you twist and work your way up, but then you should be free to twist all the way until you get to the end of that wrap. Now for those of you who want a little more practice with this, or you want to do it with animals, we have a video out called how to, I think it's how to needle felt firm sculptures with armature, and we really go over this wrapping bit, and we use a wire, like one of our wire armatures on that. Now I want the top of my body to stay narrow, so what I'm going to do is just take this back down again and build up the lower portion, and keep it tight so that you can needle felt less. And the only way I'm going to build up the very base of this doll is to, like, when I get here, keep adding girth and then work your way back up. Just, you're going to have to keep going up and down until such time, oh, she lost it. You have to keep going your way up and down until such time that you just want to add from here to here and give your doll enough base to stand on. So remember, needle felt when you get to the end. All right.
And Lorraine asks, what is the core wool made out of?
The core wool is also U.S. sheep. The same. So it's a domestic breed. It's U.S. sheep, and again, it's a living felt product. But give it a try. I think you're really going to like it. If you've never worked with it before, it's not too wiry. It's not too hairy. We even wet felt with it. We were talking about that on the group the other day. In our Facebook group. If you're not familiar with that, we have a really fun Facebook group y'all can participate in. Many of our friends are here, so if y'all are in our Facebook group, you're one of our BFFs, so let's see a hashtag BFF if you're watching down below. And yeah. Cool. All right, so all you're going to do is keep building up the shape wherever you want it to have more girth. And when you get to the arms, it's really easy. It's just like we did before, so there's no big mystery there. The only thing I would do is I would start here at the arm and work towards the body as opposed to this way, because that way you can control the, where it stops and where it starts. So get this real nice and narrow. And start right here on the arm. You can tack it down to the skin tone if you want to, or you can just give yourself a couple of wraps until you have enough volume on there that it stays. So stay in one spot for just a second, but then move on. So see how easy that is? And I like my dolls to have skinny necks and little skinny arms often. So you're just going to keep that same figure 8 pattern and build up your doll as big as you like to be in these parts. So let's jump to this doll and let me know if there's any questions getting to where we got to so far.
Joe
On
asks, could you make the body without using any armature?
You can, Joan, but what you'll find is as you're trying to wrangle the wool, you're going like this, and it's not so easy to get even, and you might feel like you have a saggy spot inside, and as you needle through, there's almost like there's no stopping point. It wants to go to the other end. So having this in the middle gives you something to go towards. Give it a go. I mean, try both and see what you like. After years and years of work, I still do the same. I like having a little skeleton in there to work towards. So we're going to put our little skin tone on this face, and working with our suntan. This is our new color. I mean, I think it's darker than me, but I would probably choose suntan for me with maybe some little highlights. So it might be more towards. I always felt like we didn't have something really for that olive skin tone, and Hannah chose it too. She's darker than me, but we both feel like we'd kind of fall in that range. So when you're covering up, in this case, maybe the face and the head or whatever part of the skin that's going to show, you can peel this to a little thin layer. The MC1 wool is kind of thick on its own. I'm just going to unfurl this for a second so y'all can see. If you've never seen the MC1 before, this is a 2-ounce roll. It comes in 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever, increments up to a pound. You could buy up to a 1 pound. Most people buy less. And then in a studio pack, you would get half of this, just 1 ounce. And so this is what 2 ounces looks like when you unfold it. So it's maybe 10 by 20 inches. We go by weight, but you can also split the thickness. You could split it into a teeny bit, split it in half or split it in quarters, whatever. And that's how we suggest working with it. Generally you might want to consider splitting the thickness. And if you do buy a color from us, we encourage that you save back a little pinch of the wool, staple it right to your label, and then you'll know exactly what colors you used in your project. So some people have made some really cute little libraries of their wool.
Devin says, can I just wrap myself in MC1 suntan for the summer so I can look like I have one?
So cute. Okay, so Katie asked, can you do the arms before you bulk up the body? Yes, absolutely. That's what I did here, is I just do the arms first before I bulk up the body. So however you like to do it, Katie. When you cover a piece with the new skin tone, just use as much as you need. And if you're going to have what's going to be a join, have it be in the back. So I just kind of wrap it around to see how much do I need, and then I'm just going to pull that off. You can practice this on a bead or a heart or whatever. and I am actually going to go just below the head and needle felt this down. So the first thing I'm going to do is needle felt it right here on the face, and I should zoom in a little bit more again so y'all can see. Sorry, super speedy. And I'm using the 42 triangle. It is a nice needle for surface design. You can just go nice and shallow with it, gentle little pokes. And you can also use a cluster like this, a little, I pulled one out. You can use two. I usually have three in here, but I obviously pulled one out for some reason. And if you have, little vegetable matter or little bits in your wool, don't worry about it until you're on like a final layer. You don't have to worry about it until you're in the final layer because it doesn't matter. It's just sheepy stuff. And it's not going to affect anything. But notice that all I'm doing is tacking this down, and then we're going to pull off the balance on the top of the head. So one of the ways I like to get a nice smooth surface is to give a very firm under base layer in the core wool, and then you can use finer needles on the surface. You might even like a 40 triangle or a 40 spiral, and then all this extra on the top of the head, I just kind of pinch it so that I know I'll cover it and pull it off, just like that. You could always patch more on if you don't have enough. And I just kind of needle felt it down like this and take up all that excess. I don't want any sharp folds. That's why I pull it off like that so that it can all just be tapered and laid down. And if you still have too much, for these dolls I wouldn't worry about it because you would put hair on it anyway. So you can hide any little spots that you don't love on the back of the head or the top of the head. Make the face sweet. And yeah, you could add features too. In a minute here I'll show you the tiniest doll I've made with a face. Yeah, so let me see some of your questions. What do you got? Y'all are talking about storing wool. People use airtight bins. I do in my studio as well. I have some wool that I leave out just because I want to reach up and grab it, but I use airtight bins as well. I have a lot of wool in my personal studio, and I just make a point to put it away.
Could you use a multi-needle tool?
You could, but I'm going to suggest on something this tiny to use one with the needles very close together because this is small. You don't need big needles poking all over. You need your needles to be, that's why we like to use the rubber band tools. The rubber band is so the needles are very close together. Usually I have 3 or 4 on a rubber band. Let me see if I have one. I don't, but I can maybe sneak one in here. What happens is I end up pulling them apart. Let's see if I can get this one down in there. So you can have 3 or 4 needles just rubber banded together just like this, which I often do. You just kind of want to get them as close to the same depth as possible, and then you can make a little bit faster work of it. So this goes kind of slow. I know it's kind of painful to watch somebody else needle felt this slow, but let me hurry and then we'll get some skin on this doll. Her face is going to look rough because I would spend forever smoothing out her face. I would be happy to spend, an hour just needle felting all the parts that are going to show. No problem. And I'll show you some of the other dolls up close too, just so you can see how smooth it is possible to get them. To get them smooth, you're going to want to get very intimate with the piece, get very up close and personal, make sure that you can see it really well, and just get all of the air out. Wherever you see like a hole and you think, I want to get rid of the hole, what I encourage is that instead of thinking of getting rid of the hole, look at the wool around it and consider, can that wool be tacked down to that same level that that hole is? And what you do, the more you needle felt it and the more you poke it with a very fine needle, you end up with just a whole bunch of little tiny pores that can be almost as indiscernible as they are on the human face if you just keep poking it and keep working it. So I'm going to jump ahead as if my dolly's face was all perfect, and let's just put some color on the body. I wanted to bring this tutorial in because maybe some people are a little shy about making a doll, and lots of people have gotten a start with our doll tutorial, but you can start with something this simple and then just build up your interest or build up your confidence, and then just keep on trying. Try something new, add another feature. Yeah, it's easier to work some features when they get a little bit bigger. So for our dress color today, I chose berry because bland berry's like one of my favorite colors. It's like sorbet. I just want to grab a straw when I see it. It's so punchy. Now you don't have to needle felt the clothes. In our doll tutorial, we show how to needle felt clothes and how to wet felt clothes. And let's see, why don't I just do a little table just so y'all can see what I'm doing here. I've got the wool all out here, and you can take the whole thickness or the whole width or just what you need, and I'm just going to split that thickness just like that. So I don't need a whole bunch of wool for this little doll. And then what I'm going to do is kind of piece her clothing just like we did on the head head cover or whatever. So we'll put her here, and I want enough wool to at least go around her and have a little bit of an overlap. And honestly, that is about as technical as I get with it. I'm going to leave a little extra down here. I'll pull this off, let's see, right about there. And now I have a chunk. This stuff is really easy to work with. Really, really easy. It is to needle felting what quilt squares are to quilting, I think. You know, easy to get to. Okay, so I like to kind of do the arms and the dress, the bodice of the dress separate. So I'm going to put my little dolly on here. I'm going to wrap this wool around and make sure I have that overlap. Now I have way more than I need. This is a good place for that multi-needle tool, actually. This is a very good place for like a pen tool or something. So I just want an overlap so that there's no seam. And look, by the way, you can blend colors at this stage. I'll show you that. How do I have now? Let's see, like, I'll show you these two little dollies. This one is two colors, just one layered right on top of the other, and this is one color just layered right on top of the other. So it's lots of fun you can have with that, putting those little dresses on or pants on, whatever they are. And I like to just go to the end of the doll. So I'm going to have this go just over the end of the body, and then I'm going to put a color on the bottom because I don't want it to be loose. I want it to be smooth and firm so that it stays on the doll. Here's the pen tool. It stays on the doll, and like I said, it can be played with and roughed up and whatever. So try this tool, and you can also try the Clacky tool, which is the clover punch tool. I should have had all these out. I don't have one. The clover punch tool is like a multi 5-needle tool. And we'll grab one of those so you can see it too. If you're working with kids, you might really like to have those clover punch tools available because they're really safe. Older folks like me sometimes jerry-rig them so that the needle guard stays up. And I just use it sometimes for things like this or firming up a ball, the punch tool. We're going to grab one right now. So pull this tight so that you don't have a lot of air, and wrap it all the way around. And then you can tear it off when you get to the place where you need to be. So just like here, we're going to tear this off. So I'm sorry I haven't stopped to look at your questions or your comments. Y'all are welcome to comment. I know we have lots of experienced needle felters on here. For this might feel like a really beginner project, but it's a great project it is a great project for a beginner, or maybe for you just planning a little doll. Cute cake toppers, they would be too, or party favors. So here's the clover punch tool, and what's nice about it is it's got a little 5-needle, but it's not overly aggressive, and you can make pretty good headway. These come with basically the equivalent of like a 48 triangle or a 38 star. I promise you're going to feel like those two are pretty close cousins, and they're kind of hard to tell apart. So you can load these tools with whatever needles you like. The one thing I say is if you were to put too coarse of a needle in here, you would find a lot of resistance as you go to poke in the wool, because all those coarse needles try and grab so much wool that it just kind of pushes back against it and doesn't want to keep going. So this is a super quick wrap. We're gonna have to start going to 2-hour Woolly Wednesdays maybe, so I can do some more involved projects. I can't get all the homework done every week to come away with a finished doll every time, a finished piece every time. What do we got, Anne?
JJ says these are very cute. Everybody is just fawning over MC1 Berry.
Oh, I'm so glad, y'all. I really love MC1 Berry. It's like a color, even if it didn't sell, I would make it because I have to have it. I have to have MC1 Berry.
Maria asks, could you use merino top to make the dress?
You can use merino top to make the dress. So Maria asked that. Yes, you can. If you're needle felting like this, you're going to find it's a little more challenging. A lot of Waldorf dolls, I should have brought my fairy. My friend Monica in Switzerland makes the most beautiful Waldorf fairies. She uses merino top, but then they become display pieces because the wool is so fine and loose and fluffy. They're not for handling. And these dolls are for being played with. Used for stories, used to express something, not just to hang and be decorative, but they could be decorative too. So yes, you can use merino top, but just keep in mind that the purpose of the doll would probably be different because it could not be played with. It couldn't go in and out of bins and bags. It couldn't travel to the park. You know, it's going to get roughed up. So I encourage that you needle felt this as smoothly and as much as you would the face. You want to really take your time on these parts and get everything laying down nicely. And wrap the arms, again, using something very, very thin. So this is like not even close to done. What I do is I'm going to put a little patch underneath. You can fold this under or you can put the patch under here first. And that's what's fun about this stuff is you can just tear it, layer it, and put it wherever you like it. So let me put that under there. I'm going to look for a few more questions here. Oh, Anne's loaded me up. How many layers needed? Just enough that you don't see the color underneath. So whatever you're working with, you just don't want to see the color underneath. You want a nice, complete color. How do you make the head look nice and round? Cindy, it's all in that layering, just like we did here. You know, start flat, build up the girth more in the middle, and then you can go over like a ball of yarn just a couple of times. Just a couple of times. Let's see. Is the head about the size of a Tootsie Roll Pop? Good call. Yeah, Tootsie Roll Pop. Yes, that is about the size, Vicki. Right on. Could you add merino top? Oh, we addressed that one. Okay, cool. All right, so notice how this is even sticking off here. So you can just pull off whatever the little extra bits. Save all these bits. Don't throw them away. Save them. Just wrap them back into the rest of your stuff. You never know what goodness can come. These little, you can make little dress flowers, little, you know, decorations from your little tiny bits. Just keep them stored with the bat. And then these little edges, you can just tack them down. If this isn't overly bulky, it can be loose but not overly bulky, and you can still work with it. So I'm going to grab a couple of these other dolls in here. Let me just get a little bit of color on the arms so you can see. Any tricks to getting the bottom to stand? Karen, great question. So let me show you the bottoms of these dolls. So notice that I said don't worry about that other bottom. So what I like to do is make this towards flat but a little concave just in the center. So I'll use my coarse needles just in the very center so that the outsides are almost a little more to the ground, and so they'll stand without needing any more support. If you just, you know, poke them flat. You can use this tool also, poke flat right in the bottom. But I like them to be, if they're going to be anything, they will not, you just don't want them bulbous here. You would rather have them concave just a little bit underneath to get them to stand. And they can have, you know, larger, wider bases or more narrow bases. So they don't weigh very much, so that's really easy to do. So some people are asking about hair. Should I just skip the arm part and then let's look at hair? And we could do a whole hair section. Now we did that a couple of years ago, right? And we did a whole hair segment a couple of years ago. It might be really old and like still in our YouTube archive on our Facebook archives. I'm not really sure, but maybe we could do hair next time. Like if y'all want to like start your dolls, and then we can look at some various hairstyles next time. Both of these dolls have New Zealand Corriedale for hair, and I like it because the staple length is so long. We used New Zealand Corriedale last week in making our furry bunny. Let's see what else. Let's grab a couple of these guys. So if y'all want to do hair next week, give us a hashtag hair. Hashtag hair. You can do it in the comments, or you can do it in the chat window if you're watching live. This guy just has a crown. He's one of my favorites. She has crazy locks, which I did bring some with me today. Hard for us to get all the time. This gal actually has merino top for hair. She's one of my favorites. I like it because you can kind of knot it like real hair. She's my least favorite hair. Her hair is alpaca, and she has way too much hair for her head. She needs some work, that's for sure. I like Mama because she has Spice. It's a merino silk blend for her hair, and she's pretty roughed up. She's been in and out of the bin a few times. And this girl actually has MC1 for hair. And the hair section that we did last time was really fun. We did, like I say, just tons of different kinds of hair on different dolls, beards and such. So if you want to do that, we can look at that next week. And maybe I should save this girl's hair for next week. Should I? So, and then this girl she also has some really fun hair, just some crazy locks. So you can go with locks, you can go with merino top, you can go with New Zealand Corriedale, you can go with MC1. Oh, we forgot the flat top dude. He's got MC1. That's for my husband. He's probably not watching right now today, but when I met him, he had the full-on 50s. Nice, tight do. And then this crazy guy has beard and locks. So this is the start of our Waldorf story puppet. Why don't we do this? I had a project for next week, but maybe we'll save that for 2 weeks. Why don't y'all get your dolls or a couple of dolls to this stage, and then let's come back next week and we will, let's see, we can add some cute little things, some little hairstyles and some little aprons and such, and then maybe we can condense them down after we get to both, after we get both done, and have a little cohesive video. Does it sound like people want to do that?
Oh, we're definitely gonna have to turn the studio into salon next week.
Okay.
Everyone's here.
Okay, so we'll finish our little dolly. What I'm gonna do though is I'm just gonna wrap the wool on her arm, and I know we're out of time now, but just so I can capture it a little bit, y'all stay with me for just a second. My table's a mess. When you get to the arm, do it just like you did with the rest. Remember the importance of getting this really narrow and thin. If it's too big and bulky, you won't be able to control it. So there's no shame in thinning that out so that you can control it. If you're working with New Zealand Corriedale or something that's a long staple, that's a little bit easier. It just doesn't look as smooth. It looks a little more hairy. So start it right on the piece, and we have a lot on our doll tutorial on needle felting clothes, so you can see how pants legs are formed and things like that. But I think we'll have plenty of time next week to finish out clothing and look at some hairstyles. So see how loose that is right there? That's totally fine. Pause right where you are, needle felt it in place. Use your fine needles. Don't use your coarse needles. Use your fine needles and tack down. Think of that first wrapping as a draft, and then you're going to come back over it and refine it. You can build up layers to make something look like a sleeve, or you can make it really delicate and just let it taper down its length. But attach it to the body first, and then go in there and take your time and needle felt it right on the appendage. If you don't like the 42 for this, I would try a 40 spiral or a 40 triangle. 40 triangle for us is purple. A 40 spiral is purple. A 40 triangle is green, but they're real fine needles. So try and work with a fine needle so that you don't leave great big holes. And this is an example here of when it has like an extra lip so that it looks like it's sitting on the body. And we do that a few other places. So we will come back next week we'll finish working on clothes and we'll look at as many hairstyles as we can squeeze into the hour. So call in sick, play hooky from work if you need to. Heck, nobody wants to go to work anyway, except for the fairies, right, y'all? They're coming back. They lie. No.
Ruined our plans.
And we're going to play with hair and stuff next week. Did y'all bring prizes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, y'all come on in. So thank you all so much for playing with me this hour. I know it seems like we got so little done, but hey, you know what? Needle felting doesn't have to go fast.
Yeah.
Right?
This is true.
Holly's not in there.
I'm not in there.
It can be
I'm here, I
slow
promise.
and fun. Take your time. Take a week to make a doll or 2 dolls, whatever, and come back with some bald heads next week. Make it together. Okay, y'all ready?
And you want to
Alrighty.
go over the prizes first?
Yeah, absolutely. Our prizes today: 2 2-ounce rolls of your choice of skin tones.
Awesome.
So we're going to draw 3 names right now. Thank you so much for hanging out. Everyone who's been contributing to the conversation, asking questions, putting in some bright ideas. Anne's been putting names into the hat. And so if we draw your name, you're going to get to pick any 2, and they can even be the same ones, right, of the MC1 skin tones that we shared today. Let's go, y'all.
Awesome, Kayla.
Okay. Wendy Shelley.
Yay! And Miss Holly? Sure.
Karen Rodriguez.
All right. Yay!
And then number 3 is Katie
Macho.
Yay! Congratulations, everyone. Thank you so much for felting with us today. We hope that you will take the advice and guidance of the Wool Health Organization. Stay in, felt, make something fun, make something for yourself, and above all else, be super, super extra, extra good to yourself today. You deserve it. Bye, y'all.
Bye.